Hello everyone, and a warm welcome back to our English First Additional Language Lessons with Ms. Lichuti. I hope you have done justice to paper 3. Today we are going to look into nuggets on how to approach paper 1. And let us start with the breaking down of the paper. The paper that you're going to write on Monday consists of a comprehension of 30 marks with a text B that is normally visual literacy type of a question, and then followed by question 2, that which is a summary out of 10 marks, not exceeding 70 points, and then question 3 and 4 are advertisement and cartoon with 10 marks each, that is visual literacy, and the last complex question, it will indeed examine your language skills on testing of different language components such as your direct and indirect, passive and active voices in question 5. Now, when you start with your comprehension, it's important to assess the title, because the title on its own will give you an indication of what the text is going to talk about. For an example, the title from the 2018 paper that says "with a pinch of salt," the word pinch, it means a smaller amount of salt, and the context of the passage was warning the audience on the high intake of salt, that which leads to diseases like heart disease and high blood pressure. You must also take note of factual information presented in the comprehension text, that which may include the statistics, they may include percentages, as well as the infusion or corporation of ideas from experts. There's a reason for that. For example, if a certain paragraph says that according to Dr. so and so, he conducted a study that found the followings, and then presenting that particular information. The purpose of including such information is for you as a reader to make the text rather credible and more believable. It's also important to take note of topic sentences. A topic sentence will be the first sentence of a new paragraph, so that you understand as to whether that paragraph continues with the ideas that were discussed above, or it's a paragraph that presents a new argument or a new story. You must also take note of the context. Is the comprehension talking about a subject that happened in South Africa or any other country? Mentioning of countries makes it easier to connect with the text. And then also mentioning of particular characters, maybe comprehension might include inclusion of characters. So what is important is that analyze paragraph by paragraph, and then when you get to the last paragraph, ask yourself this question: what was the purpose of this text? Because each and every text has a purpose. Then once you have thoroughly understood and read the passage, the comprehension passage, ensuring that you have unpacked the title to say what the title talks about, you are able to connect the title with the text, and then most importantly, you are able to deduce information from the different paragraphs presented in a comprehension, because in essence, a comprehension is nothing but a series of paragraphs, okay? So once you have read everything, ask yourself this question: what is the nub of the text, meaning what is the purpose of the text? Then go to the questions. Then when you go to the questions, examination would start with your lower order questions, which are questions that require you to name, to list, to quote, right? It means that you are going to deduce information as it is from the text without really applying inference or coming up with your own words or explaining. But however, when you go down to your 1.8, 1.6, 1.7 up until 1.12, that's where the examiner will stretch your brain again, and then they will ask you to say, explain what the author means in paragraph 7 when he states 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, even though you explain such questions, it does not mean you need to come up with new information. You still need to use the information that is stated in the comprehension. However, you are now going to paraphrase it in your own words. And this is where now you can start to use synonyms, which are words that mean the same, but they are written differently. Practice question interpretation. Ensure that the responses that you are going to provide respond to the keywords of the question. For an example, if they say explain how, it means you cannot start your response by saying because this and this and this happened. When you say explain how, it means that you must provide a reason. Check mark allocation, because if you say substantiate or give a reason or explain, it means that you should do that in such a way that your answers are fully explained, your answers are fully worded. Let me put it that way, to say your responses should be fully worded or sufficiently worded. Okay, so don't rush to the questions and don't copy down information from the text as it is as part of your response. Once you do that, it means that you have not practiced question interpretation, which is very important. Now, the question that speaks about the suitability of the title, I call that the golden question of comprehension. English FAL is always there, where the examiner wants to test your knowledge whether are you in a position to connect the title as well as the text. What therefore you need to do is to say, whether you say yes or no, you'll assess where you have valid points that are well substantiated. Is it when you are on the affirmative side or when you disagree? Now, when you say yes, the title is indeed suitable. You need to paraphrase the title in your own words. For example, let us use the one that I've just stated earlier on, with a pinch of salt, to say the title with a pinch of salt means using a minimum amount of salt. I've spoken about the title only. And in the text, it is stated that, then I will borrow one or two facts from the text. And then from then I say, therefore, the title is suitable. So in your response, I must be able to see the correlation or the marriage between the title and the suitability of, the title as well as the text. Not forgetting text B, because normally we teach comprehension, we forget about text B. I'll say the same skills that you are going to use to analyze visual literacy are the same skills that you are going to use in your analysis of text B. Text B in English FAL is not an extension of the comprehension like in home language, because home language text B is an extension of, or is the same as the comprehension. In FAL, text B it can be something of a different topic as stated in the comprehension. So you need to analyze. They might give you a pie chart, they might give you a bar graph, maybe representing rainfall in different countries. I'm just making an example. So whenever you get questions were you convinced to believe the information presented, simply describe what you see, that the information includes bar graph which explicitly show the patterns of rainfall in different places. These are just mere examples, okay? But what is important in comprehension is understanding. The word comprehension in the actual fact comes from the word comprehend, which means to understand, okay? So please make sure that at least you get I would say, a key purpose of the text. Was it there to warn you about something? Was the text there to inform you about something new that has to do with health issues? Or was it there to inform you about something new that is happening in popular culture? Maybe there's a new trend of songs, there's a new trend of dances, whatever the case may be. Once you are able to answer this question, what is the purpose of the text, then it should be easy for you to tackle the question. And then with the questions, please practice question interpretation. As I've stated, that when the examiner says state, mention, these are lower order questions. You don't need to go all out for them. Just state. If they say state the two places where the author visited, that the author visited, just go to the text, look for the two places that the author visited. But now if they say, the examiner starts by saying explaining, now that's where now you need to come up with reasons. Okay, please ensure that you practice question interpretation, and please check also mark allocation in your comprehension. Read and read for meaning. Now the second part is going to be writing of a summary. A summary is a shorter version of the original text. You are always going to be given a summary instruction. Do not exceed the required number of words, which is 70. Don't think you'll get away with it. Your responses are actually verified before marking. So if you exceed the required number of words, whatever that comes after the 70th word will be actually disregarded, and you are going to forfeit marks unnecessarily. Adhere to the required number of words. The easiest way to approach summary is to ensure, like I've said in the video, my older videos that I've done in summary, that don't explain, don't use conjunction. You can only use conjunction in instances where you are joining only two names, like Tabo and Lirado, not two ideas, because when you join two ideas now, it becomes a very lengthy sentence unnecessarily. And then avoid repetition. Sometimes you are repeating because you start to summarize at the last paragraph. Normally the introductory paragraph of a summary, it is just there to lay the foundation and to give the intro or to introduce the subject that is being stated in the paragraph. And now from paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, that's where you can start to underline the main points that you are going to use. And after underlining the main points, make sure that or ensure that they answer the summary instruction. Anything that does not answer or respond or adhere to the summary instruction, disregard that. Don't take it as your main point. And then once you have your main point, now that's where the skill of summarizing is going to come into place. That's where now you are going to either use synonyms, which are words that mean the same, but they are written differently. For example, in a June supplementary paper, it spoke about how to prepare for a gap year. To say use your gap year to make a research about new skills. So instead of saying use, I can say utilize the gap year to make a research about new skills. So I only changed one word from the sentence, and then I kept the sentence as it is to become my own words, because the challenge is that when you change sentences drastically or dramatically, you end up losing the meaning. Remember, your summary must still echo the same sentiments as the one in the original text. It does not mean now that you are coming up with new information. You are simply summarizing the information that you are being given. The second aspect that you can also use is to play around with word order. For an example, like the same sentence, use the gap year to gain more knowledge. I can play around with word order to say, to gain more knowledge, utilize the gap year. So instead of saying use the gap year to gain more knowledge, I've said to gain more knowledge, use the gap year, right? Or utilize the gap year. So I've played around with word order. However, be careful when you play around with word order. Ensure that grammar is not affected, because language use is still important. Your summary must not again be too short to a point where now your fact doesn't even make sense. You still need to write complete sentences. However, avoid explaining, giving examples. You don't give examples in summary. You don't explain, such as saying so as, because, and, but. You don't use conjunctions. But at the same, or should I say on the same wavelength, it does not mean your sentences must be relatively short and not conveying meaning. Your sentences still need to be valid and they still need to convey meaning. Okay, this is how you summarize, and please confirm the total number of words. And then when you get to your 7th point after summarizing, just go through them quickly, ensuring that all the 7 facts adhere to the summary instruction so that you don't lose marks. And then you'll get 7 marks for your language, 7 marks for your facts, and then 3 marks for a language if you have used your own words. All right. Now with visual literacy, both adverts and cartoon, when you get your advert on Monday, don't rush to the questions. Spend a greater portion of your time analyzing the advert. Remember, the key concept of an advert is that an advert is there to persuade a reader and to grab the reader's attention. So your purpose, therefore, as a candidate, you are analyzing the brain behind the advert, the techniques that are used by the advertiser to grab the reader's attention. That is what the examiner is going to ask you about. The use of big font sizes, okay? The use of an image. If the picture is there, the picture must help to support the message. And the message, you must read what is it the advertiser is saying about that particular product or that particular service. Bearing in mind that it's not in all cases where the advert will advertise a particular product. In some instances, the advert can be in the form of a promotion or a competition, or it can even promote a service. So you need to be versatile and not be boxed to say it will always be about the product. Sometimes it can be about a particular service. So with that said, it therefore means that you must do the analysis part before you rush to the questions. You realize that once you have analyzed the advert, when you get to the questions, already you've got the questions, because for aspects of advertisement, I would say that all the information that you need to respond to questions based on advert is actually in the question paper. Okay. Check also small details such as telephone numbers, website addresses, the inclusion of maybe the logo of that particular brand. It's for you as a reader to get more information, you know, as we have done with the previous advertisement in the previous question paper for last year. Please check the videos that I did last year in November for analysis and corrections of last year's prep. Here I'm just giving you the tips and approach. Then you also ask yourself, what is being advertised here? There's no way that you can start to respond to the questions if you don't know what is being advertised. What is being advertised here? Once you can get that product that is being advertised, if the slogan is there, assess the slogan and the message. Now, I want to pause at the slogan and the message. You must differentiate between the slogan and the message, because the message will be more detailed, whereas the slogan is just a short phrase that helps to sell the advertised product or service. So with that said, you should also be in a position to distinguish what level of language is used in the message as a grade 12 candidate, whether the message used persuasive language, it's a language that uses a form of hyperbole or exaggeration. For an example, if I say buy this, it's the best in the world, it means that I've exaggerated the quality of the product that I'm advertising. Or I can say buy this to take care of yourself. Now it's no longer persuasive language but emotive language. So when you use emotive language, it's any language that evokes your emotions, okay? Any language that evokes emotion, we call it emotive language. So you should be in a position to note whether the advertiser is used persuasive language or emotive language. However, don't just say the advertiser is used persuasive language, emotive language, without fully substantiating it. He has used persuasive language by stating that the product is the best in the world, which implies that there is no other product that is better than the one advertised. Can you hear what I've just said? So please don't be lazy to explain in full. Do thorough analysis. The aspect of a target market is important. For you to come up with the correct target market is dependent on what the advertiser is saying about the advertised product. Okay. Expect questions such as, were you convinced to buy the product? Is the inclusion of the picture, or how does the inclusion of the image support the message? There must always be a correlation between the picture that is being used and the image, and the message of the advertisement. So in essence, we are going to use adjectives. Adjectives are describing words, which are words that you are going to use to describe the picture that you are seeing in relation to the product that is being advertised, in relation to the message. Okay, if they are I normally use example like the Red Bull one. If they say it gives you wings, if you were to describe or to show the correlation between the picture, you say, I see the character with wings flying. You get a mark for the descriptive part of the image, which implies that one would get what energy once you consume what Red Bull. For an example, again, let's say they advertise lunch bar, and they show some a family, or let's say they advertise a cake, and then they show family members sitting around the table cutting a cake with smiley faces, and then they say, how does the image help to support the message, or is the picture use effective? You say yes, and then once you say yes, you look into the picture, you describe it. The picture depicts a happy family with members of the family sitting around the table with smiling faces, cutting the cake to show the moment of indulgence and enjoyment. Maybe the message says that to indulge and to bring forth joy in the family. So you match the description with the message. That's how you show the correlation between the two. You must also expect questions around language to be featured as well in visual literacy, such as questions maybe based on the parts of speech, questions based on maybe homophones, antonyms. They can be featured there in question 3 and question 4. All right. Now, the same approach you now have to apply it when analyzing a cartoon. That when you analyze a cartoon, there's always that note underneath the series of frames. There's always that caption that says note. In this cartoon, we have John and his cat Garfield, so that you know the relationship between the characters that are depicted in those frames. And then when you analyze, read first so that you understand the storyline, and then so that you can also establish whether is it a serious cartoon or a humorous cartoon, where a cartoonist is just passing by like a joke, nothing serious. Okay, and then once you have done that, you rely on 3 things to analyze a cartoon. You rely on the character's facial expression, you rely on the character's body language, you rely on the character's words, the manner in which words will be typed, whether they are bolded with exclamation mark, it means that the character is shouting, saying the words louder, and please do not answer and say facial expression, body language. Be explicit to say whether the eyes are wide open or the eyes are partially closed. The lips are pursed, the lips are wide open, the hands may be stretched out, the posture might be, the jaw might be standing upright. So when you analyze after reading the storyline, just make note of those descriptions of facial expression and check how those facial expressions support what's going on in the story. If the mother is angry and very furious in line, and maybe in frame 4, the mother may be drawn with eyebrows that are raised up here. The mouth might be wide open to show that the mother is furious. She might also maybe have a fist raised in the air to show that maybe she's ready to beat someone because she's frustrated. So when you respond to justify how you know the character is sad or the character is happy, you don't only use facial expression, couple it with verbal versus visual clue. Verbal clue will be assessment of the words of the character, which may be, of course, being bolded with exclamation mark, as well as facial expression. And then in a cartoon, examiners always say to you, refer to paragraph, refer to paragraph, not paragraph, refer to a particular frame. Don't assume that you already know the cartoon. You don't know the cartoon. Always when they say refer to frame 1, go back to that particular frame so that you come up or you deduce the correct answers. Another example, it might be that the question of contrast, where the examiner wants you to show contrast between frame 1 maybe and frame 2. When you show contrast it means a difference, how the character is in frame 1 compared to how the character is in frame 4. Maybe that pattern, that character is sad in frame 1, and then only to find that the same character is happy in frame 2. Okay, now when you do that, focus on the same feature. What do I mean? The eyes might be wide open in frame 1 because the character is shocked and surprised, and the eyes might be closed or partially closed to show that the character is now sad. Now you see, I've spoken about the same features but differently to depict different emotions. So you must expect such questions where you are asked to show contrast between the two characters. Another question, it might be to substantiate or to give a reason why the character is feeling that particular, maybe sad or grumpy or frustrated. And then the examiner would say, refer to both visual clue and verbal clue. It goes, or if not, it boils down to what I've said, that to respond to questions based on a cartoon, you rely on body language and facial expression as well as the words. So for verbal clue, you are going to focus on how the words are. If they are bolded with exclamation mark, that's your one reason. Another reason will be, of course, the description of the facial expression or body language, including also, not forgetting, at times we may have lines that may show movement. Maybe let's say if the character is running and behind the character's feet, we have lines to show movement. Lines may be used to include movement. There may be maybe musical note to show that there's music coming out maybe from a phone to show that the phone is ringing. So it in essence, it means that you must study all the details in the frames, including the setting of the cartoon. If maybe you see a table and a chalkboard, you know that the action is taking place in the classroom. So check also setting, but what is important is to understand the storyline. The last question, which is a higher order question, please revisit the videos that I did. I did quite a number of videos analyzing cartoons using previous question papers. The last question, it might be to justify if the cartoon is humorous or not, or to justify the behavior of a particular character. I would say please make sure that whether you say yes or no, remember we don't mark yes or no, we mark the reason. Make sure that the side that you chose, whether yes or no, you have enough reason to substantiate or to back up that. And in essence, you can use the storyline to formulate your reason. And that's how you respond to questions based on or how you approach rather a cartoon. Now with question 5, for you to nail question 5, you need to revise the language aspect, starting with the parts of speech. Remember, the parts of speech are there to show the functions of words in a sentence. I do have a video, by the way. Again, go through my older videos and check a video where I was teaching parts of speech. You are going to be given a sentence with underlined words where you need to identify those words. Are they either nouns? Are they either actions, which means they are verbs, or they modify the action by telling us more about the action than it was an adverb? Are they descriptive words where they describe a noun such as someone being tall, wearing a black and white shirt. It's a black and white becomes an adjective because it's a color that describes the shirt that I'm wearing. It's a preposition. All the small words that connects the noun with the rest of the sentence, or they indicate position. Words such as in, under, at, for, these, they need a thorough revision before you can even go to question 5 to take a look. Please revise the rules, with the first question being on the correction of errors. You need to read the sentences. First and foremost, check if all the words are spelled correctly. If the words are spelled correctly, then check concord. Concord might be an error. It means subject-verb agreement. Like you can't say the children is playing because there's a concord error. Then you substitute is with are to say the children are playing. So you check spelling, you check punctuation of apostrophe mark where applicable. This one you need to be careful. At times, examiner can give you a sentence to say, grade 4 learners can't read for meaning, and the word can't is typed without inclusion of an apostrophe mark. So therefore the error will be you take can't and then you just write can't with an apostrophe mark. Now when you get to question 5, please follow the rules. The examiner doesn't say rewrite. He says correct a single error in each of the following sentences. Just write the correct version. Don't start by rewriting the questions and then you forget to underline the corrections that you have effected. And then also distinguish between a homophone and a homonym. Homophones are words that are spelled the same but pronounced the same, but the spelling is different. For example, you can have sea with S-E-E to sea, and then you've got sea of ocean water, S-E-A. Those are homophones. And then you can have homonyms, words that mean the same, but words that do not mean the same. Pardon me, they do not mean the same. The meaning is different, but the spelling and pronunciations are the same, such as a bark and a bark. A bark of a tree, B-A-R-K, and a dog can also bark, B-A-R-K. You see, the spelling is the same, the pronunciation is the same. During the prep exam for Northwest, you were given the word stroke, right? And then the examiner wanted you to use the word stroke in a sentence of your own. So you must check the stroke that is used in a question paper. Is it, for example, let us make an example with a bark. Is it the bark that means a bark of a tree or a bark of a dog? So you must be able to use that bark differently from the manner in which the examiner used it, with reference to the use of homonyms, as well as antonyms and synonyms. Antonyms, they mean the opposite. If it's not right, it's wrong. If it's not dark, it's bright. And then synonyms, words that mean the same, but they are written differently. If you don't want to say somebody is clever, you can say somebody is smart. So, including also the degree of comparison, we've got comparative adjectives and superlative adjectives. Read the sentence in question 5 and check how many things or how many people are being compared. You are just going to add the suffix er or the word more if you are comparing two, right? She is more clever than her. But then if you were to compare in a larger group in a superlative form, you say she's the most clever, or she's more beautiful than her, then she's the most beautiful girl in the school. I'm just making an example. Okay, so you must also know the difference between adding a question tag and formulating a question. Again, I have a video where I thoroughly unpack all these things that I'm saying to you. With respect to active and passive voice, you need to know the rules. If you don't know the rules, then you won't be in a position to effect changes accordingly. With the report and reported speech, check mark allocation. If it's 4 marks, it means you must make 3 changes. The bonus mark that you are going to get is for omission of quotation marks and for changing the word accurately, punctuating it with a full stop, and then you get a mark for punctuation. Okay. If the reporting verb is in a past tense, whatever that you are going to report, please change it into a past tense. I am going to win, she said. She said that she was going to win. So was, because it says that she said, right? Please again go into my video to check, just to refresh your memories on the rules, because you fail to apply the rules accordingly. Mostly the reporting verb will be in a past tense. What you do, candidates, you leave the sentence as it is in the present tense without really checking the changes. And then changes such as have and has, they change to become had. right? And because you are not that person, you are reporting someone else's words. You cannot use words such as I. Hence, we substitute them with she or with he. So please revise the rules. The same goes with active and passive voice. Revise the rules that in a passive voice, we start with an object. However, you need to know how to change these sentences in different tenses. How to change a passive to active if it's in a present tense, if it's in a present continuous, if it's in a future tense. Okay, I cannot haphazardly just brush them through. Please revisit the videos and check. You must also expect questions of joining or combining of two sentences. At times, the examiner will show you how to do it. At times, he will just say combine. At times, he will say start by saying, for example, not only. Check the two sentences. For example, Thabo is a clever boy, Thabo is lazy. The first sentence or statement is positive, the second statement is negative. Then I will say, not only is Thabo clever, comma, always put a comma after the first sentence, but why am I using the conjunction but? Because I'm joining a negative and a positive. If I was joining two positive statements that agree with one another or share the same sentiments, I would use the conjunction and. So there you say, but he is also lazy. I did not repeat the word Thabo again because I already have Thabo on the first leg of the sentence. Okay? Now, go and revise. Go and revise those language rules. Use previous question papers to refresh your memory, but I'm going to repeat it over and over again. Just make sure that you know the rules. Sharpen your summary skills. Don't exceed the required number of words. Read for meaning. Assess the title first. Check the type of text that you are reading. Is it a combination of factual and opinion? What is the subject all about in your comprehension? Practice question interpretation with visual literacy. The answers that you need or the information that you are going to use to deduce the question is actually in the question paper. Once more, good luck and make sure that you do justice and adhere to time. Don't spend too much time in one question forgetting that you've got other questions to respond to. Go and revise grammar rules for question 5